Finding the right equipment trailer is a big step for your business. It's a very important decision. One, you got to calculate and make the best choice on to best meet your needs. Without getting into brands, makes and models, there's enough to think about. The type is very important when you're looking at haul equipment. There are essentially two different types: low profile, such as these, and a Deckover. Which one is best for your business? If you're starting out and you have no idea, then this is the perfect video for you. My name is Chad. This is Excavation Revelation, the place where excavating strategies are revealed and topics are discussed, such as the difference between low profile and Deckover trailer, and finding the ultimate trailer to start your excavating business. We'll start by taking a look at a low profile trailer. Essentially, what low profile means is that the deck is down lower in between the tires. It essentially rests on the axle. You have a lower center of gravity and also lower ground clearance. These trailers are usually a little bit shorter. They're ideal for a skid loader or a mini excavator. They can come with ramps on the back. Some of them might even have a slight beaver tail, such as over there. Or they could even come with a tilt bed configuration without ramps. You just remove a pin and the deck tilts. The same option can come in a Deckover, but essentially most of the time tilt's pretty common for a low profile, but ramps can also be an option as well. Now with a low profile, you're going to have less space between your tires compared to a Deckover. Most of them measure 6'9" is the distance in your wheel well, which should work for the majority of your skid loaders, especially if they're on tracks or mini excavators. Occasionally, if you've got a bigger skid loader with a bigger bucket, you might run into an issue there, putting your bucket between the tires, but you can always, especially if you're backing it on, you can position yourself where your bucket would sit more back behind them. You don't have to have that issue. Length is something to consider when you're looking at a trailer. Most skid loaders, even say a Cat 259, a smaller one with the bucket on, they're about 11.5 feet long. So normally these low profile trailers are a little bit shorter, but a skid loader will fit on just fine, same with the mini excavator. Something to keep in mind though is, say you've got a Harley rake or a rock hound on your skid loader. You're going to want to be backing your skid loader on the rear of your machine. The engine's going to be over the axles. You have a little bit of space up front in your trailer to put your Harley rake or your bucket, whatever attachment. But if you've got a bigger rock hound, most of them are about 6 feet wide. Some are even 6.5 feet. So you got to keep that in mind when you're looking at a length for trailer also. You might be a little bit limited on a low profile if you're putting an attachment, then you got your machine on the back. But generally, low profile trailers are a little bit shorter. They're a little bit more nimble. They're easier to back into places, get into tighter driveways, or turn around. That is one big advantage to them. Also, as far as loading the machine and chaining it down, you're really not that far off the ground. You can reach over pretty easily for the chains and binders. You can actually reach probably halfway across the trailer just by staying beside it. They're a nice trailer to start out when you're hauling equipment. For that reason, they're lower to the ground. They're easier access as far as chains and binders, and you can get into some tighter spaces with them. Most of them will come with a little toolbox, place to put your chains and binders and straps. You definitely want to be making sure that you're getting one that's long enough to meet your needs. So just take a minute and think about what attachments you have or which attachments you're thinking about getting down the road. These days, you've got lots of options for low profile. Wood deck, you could have steel frame, or you could have an aluminum frame. Aluminum's going to cost a little bit more, but essentially it's going to be lighter, and it's not going to rust on you. So that is why they cost a bit more. Most low profile trailers tend to be bumper pull, but sometimes you can get a gooseneck option. The gooseneck comes in nice when you're trying to get the center of your weight up more in your truck over your axle. So most places would have an option. You just got to kind of search around a little bit. But here's a good side-by-side comparison of a low profile and a Deckover. So Deckover is going to sit a little bit higher, and you're going to gain a lot more room with your deck because the deck is going to go over top of your tires. You're not going to have the wheel wells sticking up. This comes in nice when you're hauling a bigger machine or you've got more attachments, you got more room to place stuff on your trailer deck. Also, if you're hauling something like pipe, you can come in pretty easily from the side, grab it, take it off, put it on either way. If you got a low profile, going to be a little bit more limited. It can be done if you're coming in from the side with the forks or anything. Also, if you're putting pallets on a low profile, you probably won't be able to get two across from each other, especially not in the wheel well. Now you can turn them if they're a four-way pallet, but a Deckover is much more friendly for hauling pallets or pipe or bigger things. So you just kind of got to keep in mind when you're looking at a trailer what your main use of it is going to be for. Sure, there's always going to be an oddball situation or a scenario that you have to haul something that you weren't really planning on it, and most of the time you figure it out. It's not ideal, but you always figure it out. But a Deckover does give you some more options as far as hauling. Now, a downside with a Deckover is, since it is up higher off the ground, they've got a higher center of gravity, so you got to be a little bit more careful on your turns. But you will gain a little bit more clearance too when you're going up, say, a steeper driveway or try to get some clearance. They're going to sit up off the ground a little higher. You can still chain your machines down pretty easily just by reaching across. They do take a little bit more effort to get up on. Some of them have a step in the front. Some you can just walk up the ramps in the back. But they just sit up a little bit higher than a low profile. But they've got a lot more deck room. You got a full 8 foot on top of the deck. Either option with ramps, most of the time they can pin up, straight up and down vertically, or you can sometimes get an option where the ramps fold flat. This makes it nice if you've got a longer load, such as longer pipe that you could have to put the hoy over the back. It's a nice feature to have them to be able to fold down flat like this. My personal configuration for ramps, my personal favorite. Some people call them max ramps, some call them super ramps. They're essentially ramps that are as wide as your trailer. They fold down flat. And they're nice for, say, if you're loading a roller or a tricycle tractor where you need a ramp in the center. They're very stable and they make for nice, easy loading. And surprisingly, the way they're designed, they're usually not too heavy. You can also lock them in the vertical position. But they're nice and wide for loading equipment. This is a very nice feature to have. It's usually an added expense. Most of them don't come with this standard. But it's a nice feature to have. I mentioned tilt deck trailers earlier. Here are some Deckovers that tilt. You don't have to mess with the ramps. You essentially just pull a pin. And you can tilt your whole trailer deck, drive your machine right up on. These are usually for quicker loading. If you're just starting out with heavy equipment, maybe you have a bobcat or a little mini hoe, I would recommend starting out with a low profile trailer. This will meet your needs just fine as you're starting out. Generally, they're going to be slightly cheaper than a Deckover. They're a little bit shorter. You have a lower ground clearance, which is going to help be a little bit more stable. They're just a better trailer to start out with, especially if you're not used to hauling a trailer a ton or backing it up. They can be more nimble. And like I said, a big benefit is just they're a little bit cheaper to start out with. Then down the road, when it's time to upgrade your fleet or add to it, then that might be the time to buy a Deckover trailer. Some trailers come with these little rub rails on the side, which are nice for containing everything. There are many, many options out there for trailers. For those of you that have had trailers or numerous trailers over the years, if you wouldn't mind leaving a comment which trailer you started out with, a low profile or a Deckover. Share your thoughts or why you went the way you did. I'm sure it'd be helpful for somebody out there. Definitely take your time when looking for a trailer. Calculate everything out. Think about all the uses you'll need it for, all the attachments and machines you'll be hauling with it, to try to make the best decision.